catch my breath for a minute. Cool? Anybody have any questions while I'm sitting here? Catching my breath? Anybody?
Who's feeding your snakes?
Snakes?
Yeah.
I love my snakes. Ah, yes. Is it on? Yes, it is on. Yeah, I breed snakes.
I know. Who's feeding them?
I don't breed them.
But who's feeding them?
Who's feeding them now? My wife. Hang on. This thing's not up there.
There we go. My wife is feeding my snakes right now. Huh? Oh yeah, and cleaning the crap too. Bless her. Give a hand to my wife for doing that, huh? Yeah. Right on. So, yeah, thanks for having me. Definitely. It's been a long time since I've been to Poland. I think 2004, Peter Criss played in Warsaw, maybe. 2003, 2004. Last time I was here. So I'm glad to be back. I love it here. Beautiful city. It's nice. So yeah, I mean, I want to play some more drums for you guys, but I figured I would just kind of take the opportunity to take some questions if you have some.
I was wondering, would you go for a tour with Meshuggah and play instead of Thomas Hacker?
I mean, yeah, if he was sick or something, hey, I've got a cold, I can't play, come do it. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, is it challenging for you, their songs, or is it something you could learn?
You know, for me, most everything that I try is mental learning. So I listen to stuff, and I try to get it that way. You know, I'm not a pattern guy, if you know what I mean. Like when I'm playing drums, the last thing I'm thinking about is drums. So I'm not thinking about I'm going to play single strokes or I'm going to play double strokes here or whatever. I don't think like that. So for learning music, it's the same. I just listen and learn parts, kind of like a road map. You know what I mean? When you travel down the interstate for 8 miles, exit to so-and-so, you know.
I know. It's just, you know, every time I try to play Meshuggah track, I just give up.
Right.
And, I mean, your stuff is very difficult. It's too fast for me.
Right.
But I think, well, if I train a lot, I can maybe one day I play something like that. But Thomas Hacker is like he's from different planet.
Yeah, and of course he's working in his own environment. Now here's something that I'll say to that. You know, I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to try to play like Thomas Hacker or like me. Be you. That's what's important, because nobody will notice you if you sound like Thomas Hacker, because there's already Thomas Hacker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for me, that was the most important thing in developing my sound and the way that I play and certain different things that I do in extreme metal drumming that wasn't necessarily done before. A ribbon crasher on the left foot, you know, patterns while playing blast beats, 2 snare drums, and different things. And that was important for me because I was looking for an identity. You know, I really wanted to try to create an experience for the listener that when they put it on, they go, oh, that's Derek. You know, not that sounds like Pete Sandoval or Gene Hogan or whatever.
I think you already have it.
Well, I've worked hard on it. It was very important for me to have those types of things, to bring different types of dynamics into metal drumming. You know, up until, you know, recently you're starting to see more and more guys get into dynamics, but what you know, sound replacement is a big part of metal recording. Everybody know what sound replacement is? It's when they take the drum tracks and re-trigger it, and everything's exactly the same, and the notes are perfect. And for me, I'm going the totally opposite direction. I don't want to roll to sound like, I want it to sound like, you know, like you're skiing down snow or something. So for me, that's another part of my playing that I'm trying to evolve in the kid, is trying to be as dynamic as I can in playing this type of music, you know, extreme metal type of music. So keep your own voice, man. That's the thing, you know. Find out what you do and go with that, you know. Definitely. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Maybe you can tell us something about your drum set.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
Everything.
Everything?
Like DW.
Well, a couple of different reasons. DW makes shells like no other company. They're playing with the grain of wood and what happens when you look at most drums. Like if you look at this drum, for instance, the grain goes around the drum, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you know anything about wood and how tension goes, is when you take that piece of wood that's grained this way and bend it, the pitch goes up, right? Because you add tension, the pitch goes. So when you have grain that goes this way, a strip of it, if you hold it in your hand, it just goes limp, like a noodle, right? And you can fold it, and it makes no tension. So DW was playing with this type of stuff. It's like fine-tuners on a Floyd Rose. Any guitar players in the house have like fine-tuning on their tremolo system. It's the same kind of thing. You're fine-tuning. No other company does this. There's not a company out there doing this type of work on a kit. The reason being, I can get the drums really, really low. Really low pitched. I mean, this floor tom, even the 10-12, they're tuned a little higher, actually, than I would tune. Dude, come on. I love that. So that's why, the DW thing, I love the Sonar drums. Great drums. Everybody makes great drums. There's not a bad drum company out there, really. With modern day technology, the way things are made, everybody makes good stuff. I was just looking for a particular sound. As far as Meinl, the most cutting-edge cymbal company on the market today, period. And I can say this because the only job I've ever had as a kid, all the way up until when I started doing this a lot, was in a music store. So I was very familiar with all of the different cymbals, all the different lines, everything that was coming in. Meinl they got their shit together. They really do. I can go anywhere in the world and get my cymbal set up, and they sound identical to the last ones I had. And anybody that's ever had a Zildjian or a Sabian or any other type of cymbal that they love and they cracked, how many people have cracked like their favorite cymbal and then they can't find another one that sounds as good? I have. Right? It will never happen with Meinl. They are so consistent. That's why I'm really with this company. Consistency, innovative thinking. They're doing a lot of things that other companies aren't doing. Drumsticks is Vader, which is basically a 5B. Let me tell you what I've got back here as well. On the pedals, obviously I have the two bass drums, right? And two hi-hats on the outsides. This is a ribbon crasher. Rhythm Tech makes this. It's just a few pieces of metal put together. Most drummers play this with their hands. I decided after seeing Horacio Hernandez that I wanted to put something down there, but again, going back to wanting to have my own voice, I didn't want a cowbell or a woodblock because other guys were doing that. So I found something else. So that's what that is. And, I want you guys to do an experiment, if you can. How many people have seen Thomas Lang or Marco Minimum or any of these drummers, right? You guys have seen these guys? I would get intimidated by watching these dudes play all of this complicated stuff on all these pedals. And it discouraged me from wanting to get involved with it, but then going back to my thinking, well, why would I want to do what they do, right? So I bought another hi-hat stand, okay? Now, without having to work on exercises or spend time in a book, how am I going to utilize this instrument immediately? First thing I thought of was just simply playing it at the same time as the bass drum. Right? So that turns, this groove So you can add different color and a different texture to your playing without having to spend 15 years in a book. So you go down to Ragtime and you buy a hi-hat stand, right? It doesn't cost very much. Maybe you put two ashtrays together, surface or whatever you can find around the house that makes noise. It doesn't have to be hi-hats, it can be anything, you know. Start to play with it. Same thing for the left foot. Find ways that, I mean, every drummer in here plays this beat. Whole different color. So don't be afraid to experiment, you know, and do your own thing. Everybody in this room has the capability to immediately play something on these instruments without ever sitting down and trying it before. I promise you. You just got to figure out what it is that each individual can do, right? So, and it's supposed to be fun, you know? That's the biggest thing for me. Make it fun, you know? I think that's it for the kit. I mean, you want to know anything else about the drum kit? I mean,
can you show some exercises?
What's that? Go ahead.
Can you show some exercises for developing speed of hands and legs?
Well, I've never been much of an exercise type of person, meaning that I kind of grew up just playing and letting my ears decide what sounded good for me, and I kind of based my entire technique around that. One good exercise that I do a lot, and it's been online for many years, a lot of you have probably seen it, is a single stroke combination between right hand, left foot, left hand and right foot. So you just essentially play right hand, left foot. Left hand, right foot. Making good balance in the internal body, you know. And then you can take it a step further and maybe make it interesting instead of sitting there going, you know, make it interesting for yourself. Maybe play a beat against it or something. But here, I'll demonstrate. Lines. And what that did for me is it created independence, right? It created a solid foundation. And the one thing that's important about it is to do it as long as you can, because then it becomes an endurance exercise for how long you can play. Once you do that, maybe think about moving to double strokes, right? And between those two exercises, I'm able to do what I need to do for my core and work how I can, you know, work around the drum kit. It helps with motion, helps with a lot of different things. So those are the only exercises I've ever done in my life. I mean, I can show you, like with multi-pedal stuff, how I got started with it. I mean, that's sort of an exercise because I would take like kick, hi-hat, right? So you play pulse, you know, da, 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 da. like a bottom baseline and work from there. So that's how I kind of approach that thing. As far as hands, single strokes. That's it. How many guys work on a practice pad at home? You have a practice pad? I've never owned one. Can you believe that? I don't even have a practice pad. So I play on my drums all the time. Thankfully, I'm in a place where I can do that. But yeah, just play your drums and try to come up with things that work for you. If you know you have a weakness, for me, it's my left hand and my left foot. I know that is the weak part of my playing. And it's really difficult as a human being to go and work on something. How many of us say we're going to go practice, and then we go and we play like 3 minutes of actually working on something, and then an hour of jamming the same crap you've played for the last 10 years? I do that all the time. I go, yeah, I'm going to go practice. Right. I end up just playing. And there's a fine line between practice and playing. I really believe that, I guess I need better time management skills.